Oh, jinkies. So, I wasn't planning to do a video on this, which is why it's coming out on a Wednesday. I haven't done Wednesday videos since I put the Take Two Doctor Who reviews on a temporary pause because I haven't had the time. But I wanted to talk about Velma Dinkley from Scooby Doo. And in specific, I wanted to talk about the now week and a bit, about a week and a half old news that she's basically confirmed as queer now. And like I said, I wasn't going to talk about this because, like, there's a bajillion think pieces, and I'm like, Velma's gay, it's confirmed, woo! And obviously, the pushback to that, some of the outrage merchants going absolutely nuts as they love to do. But I mean, Velma in general has just kind of been in the conversation thanks to the show that is being done over on HBO for an adult-oriented one, which honestly probably would not have created much of an uproar if that one ends up having any kind of queer leanings, because it's already off canon for being adult with swearing and some other stuff that just isn't standard. So that you could already accept that as not canon. Whereas this,
Jinkies.
this is a standard Scooby Doo movie. Trick or Treat Scooby Doo. It's a standard Scooby Doo movie. It's the normal format. It's canon.
The cute one's right. Esteban?
Well, as canon as anything Scooby Doo related is. It's a very loose canon.
Okay, who am I kidding? I'm crushing big time, Daffy!
It's kind of hard to argue. And Velma is gay. There's a lot of responses to this. As I said, some people are angry or feigning outrage in a lot of cases. I swear, there are some people, like, they've made their entire online presence and or sometimes their career out of just being unreasonably angry about, well, any diversity whatsoever. So I want to set those people aside because I prefer to not address them or their claims or concerns, because I find them to be invalid and hateful 99.99999% of the time. I don't even know why I'm offering up that sliver of a possibility that maybe sometimes they're not. But I don't know, I'm feeling generous today. Instead, there's kind of an odd reaction from some members of the queer community basically going, yeah, we all kind of assumed she's gay. We kind of claimed her as part of our community anyway. Like, this is fine, but like, why is this a big deal? Well, it is a big deal. And I think it's worth remembering why, even though it has been rumored, parodied, accepted as a lot of people's canon, the intention, as flatly stated by some of the creators of some official Scooby-Doo media, that they were depicting her as gay as they were allowed to do, despite all of that, it's never been official. And even with all that, it still matters that it is now. And I kind of want to talk about why, especially with yesterday having been National Coming Out Day. That's also the day I'm filming this. I wish I'd thought to talk about it sooner. I could have gotten it out on the day, but here we are. So, why does it matter? Why does it matter that a character in a cartoon show who has been joked about being gay and has kind of been accepted by those who are prepared to accept it, or, you know, even derided that she was already coded that way by those who don't like it. But as far as most people were concerned, they already seemed to think Velma was gay. So is this that big a deal? Well, yes. Because when we live in an age when there are bills that pass in states that make it a crime to bring up the very concept of sexuality and gender outside of straight hetero norms, then yeah, it matters that it can be said. It matters that it's not shameful. It matters that it's not a secret. And to anyone out there who's thinking, well, look, Fine, so she's gay. Do they have to make it that obvious? You know, it's not like straight people have to go, "Hey, by the way, I'm straight." Well, no, they don't. I've talked about this before. It's been a very, very long time. If you go all the way back to the video I did on Bill Potts on Doctor Who, if you are straight and heterosexual, you basically never have to declare that because it is assumed. That is the automatic assumption about the vast majority of people. And for a statistical majority of people, it also appears to be a correct assumption. But if you're queer, then it's a false assumption. And for all of the time that has gone on with it seeming to be fairly accepted within most of the fandom that Velma's probably at the very least not straight, if not just a flat out lesbian. Oh, and like, to be clear, I do want to note this. It's been reported a lot of places, like, she's a lesbian. Like, that, we don't know that. She could just be bi. Let's not discount that as a possibility. Bisexuality is valid, but like, definitely not straight. That's for certain.
Jinkies.
But anyways, when you even have someone who is this generally accepted as like, they're not straight, but if you can't say it, if you don't say it, if you don't depict that and make it clear, there will still be people who will deny it. And they may even claim that that's their right as fandom. I don't want to have to think about that. I should be able to enjoy this without thinking about that. But stop and think about what you're saying you should be able to do. You should be able to ignore and willfully erase part of someone's identity for your comfort. And yes, I know Velma's not a real person, although she is inspired by a real person, and I am going to come back to that. But she's a fictional person, so like, what difference does it matter? Well, most people have a lot of their understanding and their feelings of queerness shaped by the media they consume. And if you treat queer people in your entertainment as an intrusion, and you believe it to be your right, that if it is not shoved in your face, it is your right to ignore it, even if it seems blindingly obvious to everybody, that is you tacitly claiming a right to ignore an important part of people's identity. You don't have that. You're not required to be comfortable with it. I would very much like if more people were comfortable with it, but you're not required to do that. But you don't get to erase it either. It's one of the things that annoys me about the literal queer erasure in history. I can and might even at some point in the future do an entire video of how many figures that people learn about in school and never get told that those people weren't straight. Whether it be William Shakespeare, Walt Whitman, Alexander Hamilton, Virginia Woolf, Alan Turing, etc., 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 etc. I brought that up on Twitter, and while a fair number of people had responses of like, wait, really? And then clearly seemed to go off and look into it on their own. Others pushed back, and like from the list that I gave on Twitter, you know, a handful of people were going, okay, but this one's not a certainty. That one's debated, like arguing 2 or 3 and ignoring all the rest and kind of proving my point for me. But some also tried to say, well, what does this have to do with their accomplishments? Why do we need to know that? Because we exist in a world where queerness is treated as an intrusion on life, because our place in history, in culture, in fiction even, is willfully erased. And so us going, hey, we exist, is treated as an intrusion, even though we've always been here, because it is pretended as if we are not. And yes, I'm making that kind of point over a fictional character like Velma. But as I said, she may be fictional, but she is actually based on a real person. If you did not know, the creators of Scooby Doo were pretty open about the fact that they ripped off not the full format of the show, but the character archetypes of the 4 main leads from an existing show. And that's not the only thing they did that with. I mean, the Flintstones just is the Honeymooners. It just is. But in addition to that, Scooby Doo is basically a repurposing of the character archetypes from a show called The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Numerous characters in that show were the basis for the main 4 characters in Scooby Doo, the most obvious of which being Bob Denver, Gilligan himself, playing a beatnik character who was the basis for Shaggy.
This time tomorrow afternoon, Dobie and I will be married.
Married? Don't worry, girl. Something will happen.
Like what?
Oh, like something.
Yeah, like getting married.
Married!
This place is like blowing my mind.
But the one I want to focus on is a character named Zelda Gilroy. Zelda served as the basis for Velma. Now, the character of Zelda was performed by an actress named Sheila Cool. Sheila Cool, who is an open and out lesbian and has been for quite some time now. After leaving acting, she went to Harvard Law School, and then she got into politics. In 1994, she became the first openly gay person to be elected to the California state legislature. In 2000, she became the first openly gay person to serve in the California state Senate. Sheila Cool is an awesome human being, and she played the character who was the basis for Velma. Did the creators of the original Scooby-Doo know that when they reappropriated the general outline of Zelda and turned her into Velma? No, sure they didn't. They might not have used that character as a basis if they had. But who cares? Doesn't matter what they knew. Especially for a show as reinvented as frequently as Scooby-Doo has been. You had your original show. You had the one with Scrappy Doo. You had the 13 Ghosts or whatever it was. You had a pup named Scooby-Doo. You had What's New Scooby-Doo. You had Mystery Incorporated. You had the live action movies. This thing has been reinvented over and over and over and over again. And multiple creators along the way. The original creators? No. But multiple creators in numerous of these projects have gone public in saying they either wanted to depict Velma as gay and were prevented from doing so, or they at the very least wrote her as gay as they knew they could get away with because they weren't allowed to say it. You know what my favorite part about this is? There was, for once, no backpatting, no self-congratulation, no big... It made the news, yes, but there was no big buildup. This wasn't the director of the live-action Beauty and the Beast talking about how there's going to be an exclusively gay moment before the film even came out. The movie just was released on October 4th. And there were the scenes of Velma crushing so hard on a woman. So this stands as a monument not only to allowing a character to be something that, like, all of us kind of accepted anyway, but nobody had been allowed or dared to make it canon up to now. Like, just do it. Just do it. There's no reason not to at this point. Unless you're trying to appeal to bigots. But it's not made for bigots. It's made for fans. It is made for kids. And kids should know it's okay to have those attractions. The people who get mad about this wouldn't be mad if the exact same scene played out, but it was Shaggy crushing on this woman. But they do because it's Velma. If one's okay, the other has to be too. It does. Either all sexuality is inappropriate, including heterosexuality, or it is okay to show same-sex attractions in children's media. You can't have it both ways. But now there she is. And she just gets to be. There is Velma. No big announcement. No attempt at extra publicity. They probably knew news would break, but they didn't try and milk it. They didn't make a deal out of it. They just did it. See how easy that is. See how simple it was. And by most accounts that I can tell, the movie's not even that good. But for the purposes of this, it doesn't matter. There have been plenty of bad Scooby-Doo movies already. There's so many bad animated Scooby-Doo movies. But Now there's one that just was allowed to say, hey, she thinks that girl's hot. Good. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that it's okay to say it. It's okay to show that. It's not shameful. It's not harmful. Denying people's identities because it makes you more comfortable. That's shameful. That's harmful. And Velma is really, really queer and is super crushing on that girl. And you can all just deal with it. I was a little combative at the very end. Sorry. I get very mixed feelings about this. I get happy and then I get annoyed when I think about why I'm even happy about this. Because, the truth is, in a vacuum, this shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be. This should just be a thing that happened. But it is a big deal because of the context in which it's happening. Because nothing exists outside of context. Nothing exists in a vacuum. And the society in which we currently live that is increasingly cracking down and demonizing anything that is not heterosexual and cisgender, yeah, this is a big deal. And I wanted to acknowledge that. Thanks for your time. Apologies for supporters on my Patreon that I didn't have this up for early access. It was kind of very much a whim sort of thing. Normally, you do get early access to most videos, and if you want to support my Patreon, you can do that right there. But whatever your thoughts are on Velma and any of this, keep them respectful, even if you feel like disagreeing with me. Don't use slurs or hate speech or personal attacks, because I'll just kill your comment with no hesitation and no remorse. But as long as you can keep it respectful, I do want to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. Those help as well, but what I really want you to do, especially in the wake of National Coming Out Day, is that I need you to remember, whether you're out or whether you're not, whether you're an ally, if you're here and you're listening, then you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned. All right, time to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfullah, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Oliver B., Melinda Walters, Emu Delkey, Leotha Boyd, Toy Loli, Becky Sparks, Vernobulax, The Poodle, Zach, Bookworm, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperol, Adam R.D.L. Taylor, Shayla Gourlay, Brendan LaRose, and TT. Thank you for your support. If you want to hear me try and say your name while this little guy tries to chew on my earrings, well, you can check out the Patreon for the support tiers that get you a shout out. Thanks so much. You are a pain in my butt.